Greetings, math fans. Alright, so this is our worksheet for the half angles, and I want to go through this pretty quickly here. I want you to understand you got to be careful of the signs. That's like the biggest thing, and rationalizing, and you're good to go. So let's kind of start out. The first problem here, really with all the problems, you know they're half angle because it's pretty obvious. You see 157.5. There's certainly no sum difference you're going to do with this problem. So we're going to do half angle. So let's just kind of start out with writing out the formulas here. So sine of a over 2 equals plus or minus the square root of 1 minus cosine of a over 2. Okay? And if I look at where 157 is right there. It's a little bit less than 180, and sine is positive there. So that starts out with our radical. So we have positive the square root of 1 minus, and remember it's a over 2, and so you double 157.5 and you get sine of 315 over 2, right? So it's 1 minus cosine of 315. That's a over 2. So just got to do a little bit of work here. It's positive root, and then cosine 315. They're all 45-degree angles, and 315's over here, so cosine's positive. So it's 1 minus a positive, or just 1 minus root 2 over 2 divided by 2. And then one of the last steps is multiply by 2 over 2. That gives you the square root of 2 minus root 2 over 4. And then take the square root of 4, so we wind up getting 2 minus root 2 over 2. Okay, pretty easy. On to the next one. Again, super obvious. It's cosine of a double angle. So we have cosine of a over 2 is plus or minus the square root of 1 plus cosine of a over 2. And again, 67.5 is over here, and so cosine's positive here. So it's positive the square root of, and remember it's cosine of a over 2, so you double that and you get 135 over 2. So it's plus radical 1 plus cosine of 135 over 2. Okay, and just make sure you're getting the sign of this right. 135 is over here, so cosine's negative, so it's plus the square root of 1 minus root 2 over 2. And once again, I multiply by 2 over 2. That gives me positive the square root of 2 minus root 2 over 4. And take the square root out at the bottom, so we get positive square root of 2 minus root 2 over 2. Okay, not bad. And we have a nice little tangent one here now. Tangent of 112.5. So as I kind of recommended, if you can have your choice of what to use, I think I would use the one where the sign is in the bottom, because you don't have two terms in the bottom. And so it's tangent of a over 2, and then you don't have to worry about a plus or minus either. 1 minus cosine of a over sine of a. And so we're tangent of 225 over 2. Well, first of all, I was about to draw a picture. I don't have to worry about drawing a picture to figure out plus or minus. That's pretty sweet. If I did use the one with plus or minus, then you would say 112.5 is in the second quadrant, tangent is negative there, and you would move appropriately. Okay? But I don't have to worry about that. It's pretty sweet. So it's tangent 225 over 2. That gives us 1 minus cosine of 225 over sine of 225. Remember, these are all 45-degree angles. So 225 is here, and sine and cosine are negative. So it's 1 minus a negative root 2 over 2 over negative root 2 over 2. Lots of negatives. So that makes it a positive. So we have 1 plus root 2 over 2 divided by negative root 2 over 2. Let's get rid of those complex fractions. So multiply the top and bottom by 2 over 2. That gives us 2 plus root 2 over negative root 2. So now I need to rationalize by multiplying the top and the bottom by, and I want the negative out of there too, so negative root 2 over negative root 2. So I distribute that to both those terms. I get negative 2 root 2 minus root 2 times root 2 is just 2 over, if I multiply that out, I get 2. And then I can kind of split it up, right? You can either factor it out, but I like to split it up. So truly you're doing negative 2 root 2 over 2 minus 2 over 2. And that gives us negative root 2. A lot of 2's. Negative root 2 minus 1. That's your final answer. Okay, not too bad. Now we got everything in terms of radians. So this is going to be tangent of 3 pi over 4 over 2. So let me write the equation again. Tangent of a over 2 is 1 minus cosine of a over sine of a. Alright, so from this point here, we're going to say 1 minus cosine of 3 pi over 4 over sine of 3 pi over 4. And remember 3 pi over 4 is here, so cosine is negative, so that's going to be equal to 1 minus a negative square root of 2 over 2 divided by sine of 3 pi over 4, which is positive root 2 over 2. So that becomes positive, and we multiply this by 2 over 2 to get rid of the fractions. So it's 2 plus root 2 over root 2. Okay, and so I'm going to multiply this by root 2 over 2. That gives me 2 root 2 plus 2 over 4, over 2. And then I'm going to split it up, 2 root 2 over 2 plus 2 over 2. A lot of 2's again, and that's equal to root 2 plus 1. Okay, let's keep going here. Back to another sine or a cosine problem. So this is cosine of 11 pi over 4 over 2, because you're doubling it, right? And it's always going to be over 4. And the original problem is 11 pi over 8. And 11 pi over 8 is 8 pi over 8 is here. 12 pi over 8 is here. So 11 pi over 8 must be in the middle. Okay, and then what do you know about that for cosine? It's negative. So it's your plus or minus means negative square root of 1 plus, well, let me just write this out, 1 plus cosine of a over 2. So it's negative square root of 1 plus cosine of a, which is 11 pi over 4, over 2. So a little bit of work here. Cosine of 11 pi over 4, that's bigger than 2 pi, so I'm going to do coterminal with that. I'm going to subtract 2 pi, which is subtracting 8 pi over 4. So you get 1 plus, and if I subtract it, I get cosine of 3 pi over 4 over 2. So that gives us cosine of 3 pi over 4 is here, and cosine is negative there, so it's 1 minus root 2 over 2 over 2. Okay, get rid of the complex fraction, so multiply 2 over 2, and I get negative square root of 2 minus root 2 over 4, and then I can again pull that bottom out, which gives me negative root 2 minus root 2 over 2. Whew! Okay, that's your answer for that one. Okay, 6 is sine of 15 pi over 8. So that's the same thing as sine of 15 pi over 4 over 2. Okay, so the original problem, 15 pi over 8, do you agree that 16 pi over 8 is here? That's a little bit less. And what's sine there? It's negative. So it's negative square root of 1 minus cosine of a over 2. So it's negative square root of 1 minus, and cosine of a again is 15 pi over 4 over 2. Oops, it's cosine of that. Okay, and again, 15 pi over 4 is huge, so I can shrink it down by 2 pi, which is 8 pi over 4, and so I really get cosine of, if I shrink that down and subtract it, I get cosine of 7 pi over 4, which is manageable because that's less than 2 pi. So I get negative square root of 1 minus cosine of 7 pi over 4 over 2. Okay, so I get 7 pi over 4 is here in the fourth quadrant, and cosine's positive here. So it's going to be 1 minus a positive root 2 over 2 over 2. Okay, nice simplify, get rid of the fraction. So I get negative square root of 2 minus root 2 over 4, which gives me negative square root of 2 minus root 2 over 2. Okay, pretty reasonable. Okay, so our last problem is just a little nasty because it's something you have to do coterminal first, right? 29 pi over 8 is kind of huge. You don't want to do 29 pi over 4. I mean, you can, but why not make this more manageable? So I'm going to subtract 2 pi, and how many times do I subtract 2 pi? Well, do you guys agree minus 2 pi is the same thing as subtracting 16 pi over 8? And if I do that, I get cosine of 13 pi over 8. That's as low as I can go. So that's a little more manageable. Okay, and but I can use this now when I do that plus or minus 13 pi over 8. Well, this is 12 pi over 8. So 13 pi over 8 is right here. So the degree is positive. So it's positive square root. Well, remember it's cosine of 13 pi over 4 over 2. Okay, so that's going to give you plus 1 plus cosine of 13 pi over 4 over 2. And I have to do cosine of 13 pi over 4, which I again have to do coterminal because it's too big. And 13 pi over 4, if I subtract 8 pi, I get 5 pi over 4. So again, that's subtracting 2 pi to do coterminal. And 5 pi over 4 is here, so that's negative. So it's going to be the square root of 1 minus root 2 over 2 over 2. Okay, and the rest of it's easy. Just multiply by 2 over 2. So you get positive the square root of 2 minus root 2 over 4. And then I pull that 4 out, so I really get the square root of 2 minus root 2 over 2. Alright, that's really not that bad. But just you have to kind of do, sometimes coterminal a couple times, but you always have to be looking at the signs of, like I said, the first time you look at the sign of, truly you're doing this one, but I simplified it to this, which is the exact same thing. Okay, so you get the sign of that, which we said was positive, and then you get cosine of 13 pi over 4, which we said was cosine of 5 pi over 4, which gives you a negative value. That's why that's negative right there. And you just that's probably the biggest part is signs. Okay, so anyway, that's it for our worksheet for half angle, and hopefully you guys are good to go. That's it, math fans. Have an outstanding day. Adios. Goodbye.